Welcome to this week's edition of THRS Deep Cuts. I'm Andrew.
I'm Dave.
In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about the latest releases from Aussie artist Joshua Batten, the mighty Avantasia, as well as the mighty Skid Row, and a band that you may or may not have heard of called The Warning. We'll have a hot topic discussion on Ozzfest entering the Metaverse, believe it or not. So that's a thing that's coming up. But before we get stuck in all those things, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all the usual stuff. All the details are in the description box for this episode, whether you're watching or listening to it. And do the same thing. Check out our fantastic sponsors. Do the same thing for them. A big thank you, of course, to Squidding, Scripting, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Their details, just like ours, are in that description box. So give them a like, a share. Any of that sort of stuff helps us, helps them. It's always good. And if you want to check out how to help us more directly yourself, hit up our Patreon page for more information. Again, link is in that box. Everything you need is in that box, including some reference tracks for you to check out when it comes to the artists we're talking about. So we'll have some reference tracks for you in that box. Just go and check out whatever gets your attention after we're done talking or while we're talking, whatever you want to do. Yeah, there's a bit to get through, as always. We'll try and make these ones pretty much to the point. Last week's, the new format worked well in both cases with the deep cuts and with the live stream. So we're pretty happy with the way it's turned out, aren't we, Dave?
We are. It was fun. Came out well.
Yeah. So both gone well. We'll keep going for a little bit and we'll make tweaks as we need to adjust things as we go along. But before we get stuck into everything as well, Dave, how are you going? How's your week been?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not sure what day I'm on, but I'm halfway through a 5-day weekend at some, I don't know, as we film this. But yeah, as we film this, Halloween is tomorrow, so we put up a lot of our decorations today and yesterday for some of the inflatables. And tomorrow we'll be carving out a jack-o'-lantern, or attempting to. I may cut my hand off, so it may end up like that shit. I hope not, because I like having both my hands. Apart from that, kids are enjoying. They got a long weekend too. They got Monday and Tuesday off. Nice. So, but I'm going to be an old man yells at cloud, but I really wish this rain would fuck off. I'm getting sick of it. Show us some blue sky. Can't remember a Halloween that's actually been gloomy. I mean, it fits the atmosphere, but if it's pissing down raining, it's not going to be fun for trick-or-treating.
I think the gloomiest one was that one in lockdown, hard lockdown. Remember that a year or so ago?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, sorry, the hard lockdown where no one did anything.
That was a major blur. It kind of bled in one day into the other.
The fog, the big fog. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's the last time I saw it really gloomy. Generally speaking, it's not too bad this time of year for us, but yeah, interesting one.
How you been?
Good. Same as you. As we do this, tomorrow is Halloween as we sit here and film this one or record this one. And yeah, today was Jody and myself whacking up a whole bunch of decorations. For those that know either of us, you'll know that we always go all out. And if you are lucky enough to see the photos that we put up on our own personal socials, if we do that, depending on what we do any given year, sometimes we do it, you'll see the decorations that we put up. But it's always a lot of fun this time of year. I really enjoy it, and Jody and I had a fucking laugh, a bunch of hysterics, just putting it all up and having some fun while we're doing it. Actually getting to chat to our neighbours, getting to know them a bit better while we're doing it as well, which is always a good thing in a little court like we live on. But yeah, generally speaking, around that, everything's good. Just been busy. I've been catching up and getting ahead of things in the production schedule side of things, which is nice. We're going to do some TV stuff after this as well, which will, like you, I've got the Monday, Tuesday off, so I'll be able to sit down and get those things cut up, which I'm looking forward to, actually. Tomorrow's a busy day, always with Halloween, and got some things on with the family, but parts of Monday and parts of Tuesday I'll able to sort of just chip in and get some things done, which would be actually a nice change of pace. And we've already started mapping out the rest of the year now, pretty much. So it's into the home stretch for us now. It's I know it sounds weird to say that at the end of October or early November as you're tuning into this one, but yeah, we have to plan ahead. It'll fly by, and we have to plan ahead because we already got the deadlines for TV and stuff. And before we mapped out that we'll wrap up our production for streaming that on about the 8th of December. That'll be us for the year. Might do a few odds and ends, but nothing planned per se. We'll see how it all shakes out. But that's where we're at. So in the grand scheme of things, we've got maybe 5 weeks to go. Which is okay. That's it for us. And then it's the madness of Christmas shopping, which will be fun next. Speaking of, let's get into that sooner rather than later. I think I don't want to be waiting to get that one done. Have you done yours yet?
We went to Southland the other day, got a few things, mostly just look for ideas because I don't know what the hell to get my kids. Because Jade's getting to that age where she's getting too old for toys, but in my day, it was just like CDs. Just give albums and DVDs, and she loves books, so we get her plenty of books. But and we're always hard to buy for too. They've either got everything or they're getting too old for something. So I don't know. I worked in retail for many years, and it's a lot harder now because what people consume is a lot different to what it was when I was a kid. So I know I don't want to just give like gift cards and money because it's not exciting when you open that up. It's like, cool, I got this great day, and all I'm getting is vouchers and shit.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
But we've got a few cool ideas. We walked around some of the smaller shops, not like the big retail chains. Go to some of the small, like this place at Southland called Kid Stuff. They got some really cool stuff there. Yeah, and even Toy World. Toy World's got some cool collectible stuff as well.
It does now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better than what it used to be.
I'll have to send you a link for this thing that we use, Dave, called Draw Names. This is not a sponsored plug by any stretch. Fuck me. I wish it was, but it's not. But we use this thing where you can set up. We do it like a Kris Kringle thing. So myself, Jody, the kids, because all our kids are older. So everyone just sort of puts their own wish list in there. One of our kids in particular may regret that choice because she's been putting all these gag gifts in and not putting anything serious in there. So she's going to get a bunch of silly shit for Christmas. And she sucks to you. So that's what it is. But what it does is actually, if you get into the nitty gritty of it, you can just basically almost auto-populate a wish list by, age and interest kind of a thing. So that might be something that might help you out there, Dave. I don't know. Or if nothing else, just set it up so your kids can log in and go, instead of writing a letter to Santa, just go, here's your wish list and see what pops up. At least gives you an idea.
That's cool.
Bit of fun. So remind me, I'll send you that link so you can sort of check it out. It's actually not a bad. It does, and you can also add things. Links. You'll find it. There's heaps you can do to it. But yeah, it actually makes life easier for us. So we always do it at the beginning of October. Pretty much, we start setting it up, and then we start getting our shopping done and go through it that way. So we're at that point now. Okay, everyone's got their lists. Let's do the shop and get it done and carry on from there. But we haven't even had Halloween yet. We've got to plan ahead for the show. The end of the year is coming fast, folks, so that's where we're at. All right, we won't waffle on with that stuff too much. Everyone's probably bored by now. So let's get into the hot topic for tonight, and that is Ozzfest is returning, but it's in the Metaverse via Facebook or whatever it is called these days, Meta. So we're going to basically discuss our thoughts on this and basically virtual reality as well as it relates to things like live music. I think original Tim was the one that brought this one to our attention in the chat with just the word what. So he was stunned by it. But Dave, you've had a bit of time to sit on this, so what do you think?
Yeah, I read the article and then I read a couple others and then I did some research on the actual Metaverse because it's more than just an online live stream, which is what people were doing over lockdown. That was becoming more popular. The Metaverse is like a virtual reality place where cryptocurrency allows you to buy stuff and build stuff and play games and all other types of things. It's like the next step of the internet. And still, well, I thought it was in a pretty early stage, but it seems to be more further along than it is.
It's moving
Yeah. And so the Ozzfest is going to be part of the Metaverse Music Festival. So it's not just the Ozzfest. There's a lot of things that will be happening. And you don't need a virtual reality headset for this, apparently. You can create avatars and everything, but I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but it will be free, which is interesting. So it's one of the many things that the future that we thought was far away is coming towards us very quick and going to change a lot of things. But, I think online performances in general are pretty cool because not every tour comes over here, so you can see things as they're happening. You don't have to worry about transport, weather, accommodation, money for food, money for drinks. I mean, you can still get your mates around and watch it like a pay-per-view for the wrestling. So it's convenient. It's still fun. But I don't know if you can choose to do the virtual reality or just view it some other way, but I use virtual reality once at my friend's place. And it is fucking amazing because he had to measure his room to get the correct dimensions, and then you all sync it in. There you can play your games in this world, and it's really weird. And it's the absolute withdrawal when you go out of this and you just come back to a boring room. I can understand why nerds get so addicted to this shit. Because he had this game that was kind of like Guitar Hero, that was like drumming, and you got all these
Okay.
things coming towards you, and you have to hit them in time. And you could actually load any song into it, and it would sync it up to what's coming
Wow.
towards you. So it's amazing technology. But yeah, like I said, it's easy to get addicted to. So if you wanted to go to one of these festivals and you had the virtual reality on, and you can make your own avatar, like in that, hopefully you don't want to be blue with a long neck or any of that shit, but you could make yourself a fucking Viking warlord if you want to, and just beat the shit out of people in your comfort of your own living room in the mosh pit, and not
All
actually
I can
hurting
think of is Bart in when he has that Shadow Lord kind of thing, whatever it is, that big black suit of armor.
Something like that. You can make anything. You could be fucking the guy from Lord of the Rings that slaughtered all the men or something. But then it makes me wonder how the band's performing. Are they in like a motion capture room? Or is it that? Or is it just...
Yeah.
There's a lot that's still unknown about this. So I'm really curious about how this goes. I mean, if you don't need the virtual reality stuff, you can just log on your computer and it's free. I think this is going to go really, really well. So, and Ozzy obviously can't tour. And if you can tour, it'd only be like small shows. So if this is a way for him to be able to perform, then that's cool. And I think, there's probably a lot of other musicians that can't tour, like Mick Mars recently, but it's a way for musicians to still interact with fans. So this is a interesting time that we're living in, because the possibilities are still in their infancy, but there's a lot that can work with this. So I'm curious to see how it goes. It's interesting.
Just had a wild thought pop into my head, but imagine all the legacy acts that people didn't get to see, like Dio, Zeppelin. Imagine actually sort of remastering the footage to make it immersive, like a 3D virtual reality kind of experience. That would be pretty fucking nuts. It'll get there eventually.
So much better than those fucking hologram shows.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Like the doors this opens for legacy material is pretty fucking insane.
Yeah, you could go to Woodstock then.
Yeah, anything. Like imagine, I know that it wasn't captured, but imagine having the footage of Hendrix burning the guitar.
Yeah.
Like being able to go to those moments in time. Like that's an interesting one that you haven't really, you know what I mean? Like those moments in time.
Beatles at Festival Hall, Hendrix at Woodstock.
Anything that was captured and then can be sort of quote unquote digitally remastered to suit the environment. That would be pretty.
Guns N' Roses St. Louis Riot.
Guns N' Roses at the Calder Park Raceway.
Yeah, that would be cool. Oh, I love it. The ring.
Yeah. Fuck. So there's heaps that you can go on to. Like, for example, Rammstein Paris. That'd be really cool because that DVD, that visual was really nicely captured. So I reckon you could do it there. But it opens up the doors too. Imagine it's like a playback thing, and you have like access all areas. You can go to the side of the stage and all that kind of stuff too. There's heaps of scope for this kind of technology to be there. As it relates to Ozzy, I just insist that they capture the backstage footage of Ozzy trying to work out what the fuck's going on. Because if anyone watched the Osbournes and watched him playing the fucking remote for the TV and the house control and stuff, and he goes, Sharon, he couldn't get the fucking work. I want to see Ozzy trying to work this shit out. I don't mean that. It'd just be hilarious. I would fucking lose it. But genuinely speaking, the fact that it's free is going to entice people to check it out. The fact you don't need to have the VR or the Oculus or all of the other stuff that's attached to this kind of stuff. You can just log in or don't even know if you have to log in per se. You just sort of jump on this now and check it out. That's going to entice a lot of people. And if they do this well, and because it's not just Ozzfest, like you said at the top, is just one part of this whole big music festival. So it'll capture people from all over the world. It's going to be interesting to see how it's logistically handled, like if the servers are up to it, because who knows how much data load there is going to be with all this kind of stuff too. But it's like a showcase moment. If this goes well, it could change things a lot. If it goes badly, it'll set it back a decade, because consumer confidence will be shot to shit. So it'll be interesting. I mean, sound quality wise, it'll depend on quote unquote mixing and how good your sound system at home is and that kind of stuff too. But the visuals, I don't have a whole lot of hope in the visuals yet. I don't think things are quite up to speed there. It'll be very digitized. But apparently they've got a special sort of backdrop for the Ozzfest side of things. Some
type of cyberpunk thing they were talking about.
Yeah.
Nature reclaiming civilization or something.
That's what it was, yeah. So the whole concept is really, if I'm not at work, I'll be tempted to tune in, just to see what it's like and just to see how it goes, I mean, you'll never know just quote unquote how live it is. But if this is a way, like you talked before about, live shows being done digitally when lockdown and all that sort of stuff was a big thing. The concept of that, even taking back the ones that, for example, Dropkick Murphys did a really great live show during lockdown. Imagine just, taking that footage, porting it into the quote unquote metaverse and being able to experience that again in more of a 3D environment. That'd be kind of cool. So is it ever going to replace the complete experience of live music? I don't know about that. And even if it did, that'd be a long, long way away. But the scope that this opens up for things, be it new artists and for legacy acts, it's the Wild West right now with what's going on and Web3 coming and all that kind of stuff as well. So there's heaps that can come out of this. So I'm very curious. I don't know how well this will go. I trust Ozzy and his band to do a good job, but it's just a matter of, the actual end user experience, what's going to matter most. And this being something so big, you'd want to have your ducks in a row, like I said before, but fingers crossed. I don't mind new things and hope they go well. Like anything that helps music is good for me. So that's, it's an important part of who we are as a species as far as I'm concerned. So anything that helps music get more attention, I'm all for it. So let's see what happens. Don't shit can an idea just because you don't know about it. I've never done a VR set like you have, Dave. Never. I don't. If I have, it'd be so long ago. Sorry?
If you get a chance to, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an amazing thing that just completely destroys your equilibrium for about 5 minutes after you get out of it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't recall ever having done one. So
the rooms they're set up in have to be pretty empty because you are moving around. You've measured out the distance and the length and everything. And if you're swinging your arm, you can't have like a bookshelf. So it's just blank walls. Close the door, curtains on the window. So it deprives your senses of anything.
Yeah.
And then you put this on and it's just, the detail is amazing.
Okay.
And it's not just in front of you. It's above you and below. It's completely around. You can turn around and stuff behind you.
Wow. It's pretty full on. Yeah, okay. Well, Ready Player One, here we come.
Right down that line.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's our thoughts on it for now. Be interesting, but hopefully it goes well. I'm always, like I said before, I hope new things go well. I just think you need to adapt, evolve, and change. We can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. It doesn't mean that those things stop. It just means we can add more to it. It's more, not either or. It's both kind of thing. But we'll see how it goes. I don't think it's next year, isn't it, Dave, from memory?
I think it's in a few weeks, actually.
Oh, shit. Okay. Fuck, I better check this out. Oh, no, November 10 to 13. You're right. Shit.
Yeah.
November 10 through 13. Hosted in Decentraland. Rightio. Apparently, yeah, but Aussie is the only one as we do this that's been actively confirmed, but we know there'll be more before this whole thing is run and done. So, yeah, as we do this, it's about 11 days away.
Aussie's been walking through the metaverse for the past 40 years.
I want to see Aussie's like avatar for this thing. What's it going to be?
Oh, fuck.
The Prince of fucking Darkness. Let's see if they're going to do bubbles for his set like they did on the Osborne. All these.
When do the mouse strippers come out?
Anyway, give us your thoughts out there, folks. Let us know if this is something that actually remotely interests you at all. And we'll get stuck into diving into some music reviews here. So let's get stuck in. Unless there's anything else you want to add there, Dave, or are we going to move on?
No, I think we covered that pretty well.
All right, cool. We got pretty in-depth in that one. Let's see how we go with the reviews now. As always, we pick an Australian artist each week for these ones. And this time around, it is the extremely talented Joshua Batten with his new album, Learn to Live Again. 14 tracks for 75 minutes, the second studio album and third release overall from the Australian singer-songwriter, released October 2022 via Batten Down Music and MGM Distribution. Produced by Sean O'Sullivan and Joshua Batten at Highway 9 Studios in Croydon. A handful of singles have been released from this, including Heavy Road and Open Box. This album is described as chronicling Joshua's experience as a working musician on the autism autism spectrum and how the pandemic forced him to reevaluate his priorities and ambitions to a point where he could be more independent and forgiving of himself. Throughout the journey, Joshua confronts his anxiety, grief, anger, nostalgia, and fear of the unknown to reach a state of self-acceptance with a more mindful and positive attitude going forward. It's Joshua's journey, but one which resonates far and wide beyond the personal. And now that's the end of the quote. For Joshua Batten's career, I think we have followed him right from that first EP a few years ago because he came through a studio and did an interview with us there. He released his debut album in 2020, which we loved here at the show. So let's see if the trend continues. And we're going to shake things up because I select the Australian artist every week. It's generally it's always done by consensus, but I tend to get the first in on that one, and people don't tend to argue too much with what I'm picking. So we're going to shake it up, and whoever picked a thing gets to go first on it to see how it sort of. I think it'd be more interesting to see. The person who picks it is generally going to get in there with a positive attitude toward a thing. The person who didn't pick it may or may not have the same. So we'll try and bounce things around a different way. But for this one here. For Joshua Batten's work, because we have followed him for so long, it's been really it's awesome to see his career progress the way it has. His journey is really something else. Like it's cool that he mentioned the autism spectrum, because for me, I'm always going to remember the awkward kid who came through the studio for the first time, who was terrified of the dogs. Our dogs are big, which I expected to be terrified of them, but it was just a really interesting experience having to sort of work with him and his dad in the room at the same time, so to get this interview to go. It went well. Everything was really good. It was no negative experience, but it was just, there are certain people that when you know a certain thing about them, it stays with you, or an experience stays with you. And watching his career grow from that moment to now has been nothing short of absolutely fun. It's been a joy to watch, an absolute joy to watch. And I think this release, I loved the album in 2020. I think this is his best thing yet. I think this is absolutely phenomenal. It's just so well-rounded, so mature. For our side of the world, it's firmly in the singer-songwriter camp of things, but there's still some very tasty riffs here to enjoy, and even some of that sort of progressive element. We know how much he loves prog music, and there's some of that that's crept into these songs, which is a nice touch there too. But this sounds glorious. It's so warm. It's so inviting. I love the mix. The mix alone makes it worth the price of entry. It's perfect for the style of music. If you're into the genre or just want wonderful production, listen to this one, because the layering and the tones are fantastic on this. On top of all that, the performances across the board are top-notch. Joshua has really grown into his own over the years, and his vocals have always been good. But with each release he does, he gets better and better. And now he's just right up there as one of the premier vocalists in Melbourne for the style, if not anything else for that matter. I reckon he's in a position now where he could do almost anything. And not that we, compare apples and oranges here, but the way that people adore Ed Sheeran, it wouldn't be hard to see Joshua Batten on the same talent level as him, in my mind, as we do this one now. You make of that what you will. It's not the normal comparison to make here on the show, but just how easily accepted that is, I think Joshua might even have him covered on talent personally. So that's me saying that there. Take of that what you will. But for these songs, there's great hooks on this. The chorus to stay with you long after the final note has stopped ringing out. And these songs are so damn well written and presented. It comes down to taste, of course, like all things do. But if you're even remotely into this style of music or just want to check out really good talent, give this one a spin for sure. The tonal vibe shifts from song to song are great. The opening 3 tracks on this release really set the stage for how interesting a journey this album is going to become. The space and the guitar work in Waiting for the Moment is one example of that. It's not surprising. It's one of the heavier songs that I enjoy the most on this one, but that's a really attention-grabbing moment in the first 3 tracks of this album. But where this whole thing shines most for me is in the lyrics and the storytelling. While it's not a strict concept album, this is his telling of the last few years through his eyes, which is something to behold. From my understanding of things in the autism spectrum, which I'm not an expert on, so if I'm wrong, don't knock me on the head. I'm just learning as we go. But to be in the spectrum generally means that to be able to relate to other people's experiences is more challenging than what other people normally have. In my understanding of things, I might be very wrong, but that's how I view it. So through my lens, hearing these stories being told in this way is remarkably well done. And what is really important about it is just how well it connects to anyone and everyone else. I don't take this as being the perspective of someone on the spectrum, if that makes sense. I take this as the perspective of anyone this could be anyone feeling these songs. These songs are so relatable for anyone to connect to. It's stunningly well done. This is a long way removed from the first time I saw this guy a few years ago come through the studio. This is a long way removed. There's a lot of confidence in this. The songs are fleshed out. The overall narrative of this is wonderfully told, and the songs individually on their own is just so powerful to listen to. This whole thing feels like going through the chapters of a book or a diary of the last few years. All the things we felt and endured together and individually are here, and they're presented as his story, which is absolutely his own. But at the same time, like I said before, anyone can absolutely relate to this, which is the emotive weight to these songs is just riveting from top to bottom. There's little flavors individually from song to song as well, which help to break things up. The whole thing is so well refined. It's not funny. These songs have been honed and honed and honed. The use of harmonies, backing vocals is great on this one as well. That brings the songs up a notch as well. And the use of light and shade or bright and dark tones to help, shape the mood of individual songs. And that gives you this journey of an album to go through as well, because we all had, go through lockdown. Okay, cool. Get to stay at home for a couple of weeks. It's all good. By the time you get the fourth week, you're fucking in the dumps. And you get to really ride these emotions out. It's almost like a cathartic listen for anyone that's gone through the last few years in a struggling sense. This is cathartic. The little things like station noises in O Britannia was a nice touch on this one as well. There's just these little touches here and there that show a lot of attention to detail. And I like how on that song as well, there's great panning. It's such a catchy tune. Good luck not tapping along to it. But also how the bass gets its time to shine. That one, everyone gets a little moment to shine on this album, which is fantastic. Like I said, the flow from track to track is brilliantly done. This whole thing, how they haven't, like most albums have that little split second of silence from track to track. They haven't really done that. A lot of this just flows from one track to the next, and that's so well executed. And it adds to the feeling of a concept album without being a concept album, if that makes sense. It just adds to the dynamics, the feel, the groove, the whole flow of the album. This just grabs you and takes you on a ride from top to bottom. Like I said, this is one person's view of the whole thing, but anyone can really look into this and get something out of it. And I think that Joshua just gets better with each and every release he does. I'm really curious to how he's going to top this one. I don't know how he's going to top it. I think this is really hard to beat. It's pretty fucking special. On the musical side of things, you got the singer-songwriter, but there's also bits of blues, prog, bits of Queen in there as well from mine, Rush, other little things like that, just little hints of things here and there, just flesh things out nicely. The only critique I could possibly make of this album is that it might be a touch long, but good luck fucking picking a track to cut, because I couldn't do it. I don't know what you'd cut from this one. This is a rare gem. I think this has something for everyone here, regardless of taste overall. I think everyone should check this out. Yes, it's on the softer side, but there's plenty here for anyone to get into. There's plenty of meat on the bone still. Like I said, there's some good riffs, some good solos in this one as well. There is some great musicianship here. And just at the end of the day, even though it's about the last few years, I like just how uplifting it is to listen to. This feels like it's a positive listen. It makes you feel good listening to it, which is, again, something remarkable. I think, Joshua, I know you'll watch this one. I know you've been wanting us to review this one for a while now, and I'm sorry it's taken so long to get to it. But fuck, it was worth the wait as far as I'm concerned, because this is fucking phenomenal. Well done. Tip of the hat to you, good sir. You are on a fucking special run. Take this album and run with it, and I hope this one gets him all the accolades and all the attention it deserves to have. I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. I pick Give Up the Throne, Waiting for the Moment, and O Britannia as my standouts, but there's no dud moments on this one for mine at all. I really, really did enjoy it. So now I'm leaving myself open to the rebuttal, if any, from Dave. So over to you.
I'm not rebutting. I'm going to agree 100% with everything Andrew said. Review done. Nah, I got more to say. But yeah, everything Andrew said was spot on. I put this on at work during the week, and about a week and a half ago, we had a taste of really nice, bright mornings. It was actually easier to get up. We've had really crappy weather this week. Yeah. And listening to this album was like a ray of sunshine on an otherwise crappy day. Mm-hmm. It was just a great, uplifting album to listen to from start to finish, and put me in a much better mood than when I got up and went to work. Mm-hmm. I get to listen to about an hour and a half of music first thing in the morning, so I got the whole album done in one sitting. I was just like, wow, this is great. The stories are remarkably well told, and the vocals and the words he's chosen are quite hypnotic. And I could just sit and listen to his vocals, and then you also get this wonderful music accompanying it. And I wish we had the lyric sheet, because it's not on Spotify, but don't really need it to understand what he's saying.
Send it to you. I did get it in the Dropbox link. I can send it to you. But
that'd be cool, because there's a type of thing, like you said, a diary entry where you could just actually sit down and read these thoughts. but then you
Yeah.
can also listen to it as part of this music.
Mm.
Singer-songwriter with prog elements.
Yeah.
On paper, they would seem worlds apart. Singer-songwriter, not a big fan. I know I like a few, but I don't really know much about that world. But from what I do know, it's just basically a few chords. It's more about the stories. Whereas with all these prog elements, you get this amazing different levels of musical.
Get a tapestry, a whole tapestry.
Yeah, a massive tapestry of everything he's got, all these influences all brought together as, I want to say, a backdrop for these stories, because the music is just as important as the words. But it all works together really well. But right from the opening classical string piece that opens the album, you can tell there's going to be a lot of different places this album is going to take you. And Heavy Road, that song has some very thoughtful lyrics filled with social commentary and observation. And as Andrew said, it just mirrors everyone's experiences. We can all relate and reflect what he's saying. And it doesn't leave you, doesn't take you back to a down. It leaves you on the high. It's like, yep, this is where we've been. Let's make it better. Let's move forward. Stop the bitching, stop the complaining. We were all there. Move forward.
This is like the best lockdown album. Does that make sense? This is like the best outcome for a lockdown album for me.
Absolutely. And musically, there are some nice changes in that song. There's little orchestral moments in there. Just, they're not overdone, but they just add a little bit of what's the word? Just a little bit extra to each part.
Extra color.
Extra color. We'll go with that. But as people who know me, I always get drawn to the epic track. And Existential Guardian. Oh, wow, man.
That was cool.
Epic in every sense of the word. Composition, performance, length. It's just really, really well done song. Oh, man. Was it 13 minutes? And it doesn't feel like 13 minutes at all. It just
doesn't.
Beautiful, beautiful song to listen to.
Yeah.
And then you get a song like Cut You Adrift with some blues in there. Great tone. I love his setup. I mean, every guitar nerd always goes to the tone. It's very cool. And the phrases and the lead playing in that bluesy riffs is very cool. Once again, lyrics tell a great story. And then Fortress, which was a pretty mellow song, but damn, that was cool. And there's a cool solo section where I think it's a synthesizer. You get a bit of a synthesizer solo. Sounds a little bit like a flute. And then you get the guitar solo directly after that. They just flow beautifully. Once again, the prog elements are definitely coming in there.
Yeah.
A lot of different moods and textures. He's packed a lot into each song. I mean, and the album, you get short songs, long songs, different tempos, different moods, different themes. It's 75 minutes, but that's cool. I love long albums. So,
it's easy. It's an easy 75 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And you could listen to it as 75 minutes, or you can just pick whatever song you want, because each one has its own unique stamp and standout.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
As you mentioned, there's definitely something for everyone on this. But I'm just thankful that I listened to this album this week when my mood was a little bit down, just simply because of the weather. It just elevated me. It made me happy. So, Josh, thank you for amazing listen. I give this 9 out of 10. Cool. Heavy Road, Waiting for the Moment, Fortress, and Existential Guardian are standouts. But the whole album. And my mood changes. I'll probably find some other songs that will connect with me in a different way.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. That's awesome, man. I'm glad we both agreed on that one. So
absolutely. No.
I think this is going to be one of those weeks where we are going to generally agree with each other. I think. Anyway, we'll see.
I reckon.
I reckon so.
Fuck.
Well, we have to. Well, we've got that coming up now. So let's get into it. This is Dave's choice for this week, his actual primary choice. This is Avantasia with a Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society. 11 tracks, 54 minutes, the 9th studio album from the German metal opera led by Tobias Sammet. Released October 2022 by Nuclear Blast, produced by Sasha Paeth and Tobias Sammet. 2 singles have been released, including the Moonflower Society and The Wicked Rule the Night. So far, the album's charted well across Europe and Japan. There is an absolute treasure trove of guest spots on this. I'm not going to list them all. It's fucking way too many. This is a project that has done particularly well with us over the years, especially Dave. He's got the top on today, so he's going to share his love for Avantasia with us all. But yeah, let's see if the trend continues with this one. And Dave, we're going to throw to you first because it was your choice.
All right. Terrible album. Don't listen to it. Just kidding. Just kidding. Oh, man. New albums from Avantasia are always interesting. I know they're going to be amazing. Style-wise, they're not going to deviate from what they do. We know what Avantasia is all about. But the question is, how is it going to amaze me? They know there's going to be epic composition. There's going to be beautiful melodies, fantasy-based lyrics that are never cheesy or tacky. Performances are going to be amazing. And remarkably, they're going to bring everything together of these grand projects and give us an amazing listen from start to finish that always sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So what the hell is going to impress me? And it's exactly what I want. So
yeah,
there's no real thing that's different to previous Avantasia albums. It's just I know that it's going to be excellent. And the list of vocalists are nothing short of amazing. You weren't going to mention it, but I will. Floor Jensen, Jorn, Ronnie Atkin, Michael Kiske, Jeff Tate, Eric Martin, and of course Tobias Summit himself.
Yeah.
Now I saw most of these people live as part of this band.
Yeah.
And holy shit. It was amazing. But yeah, right from the start, I'm just like, okay.
That was like in a year, wasn't it, that one? That year?
Yeah. Oh, easily. It was probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Wow.
That's saying a lot because I've been to a lot of favorite bands.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, right from the get-go, you're in the world of Tobias Sammet's mind. You're in the land of Avantasia. Welcome to the Shadows. You get the great mood, the melodies, the grand operatic choruses, the group vocals, and there's a really haunting melody in that. That melody is what really picked up on that first thing. And dramatic storytelling throughout all these songs. You know, there's a kind of a running theme of not really Tim Burton, but that whole fantasy with the threat. It's there. You know, you got childhood innocence and the wonder of the natural world, but you're still meeting conflict. You're being challenged. It's that childhood innocence that prepares. We tell kids fairy tales, and some of them are very grim, but it prepares them for the world at large. This is the way of still dealing with what can be a pretty threatening world at times in a safe way.
It's almost like Oz, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In all these characters in these stories and songs, they're always striving forward. Usually good overcomes evil. But really no one writes lyrics like Tobias Summit. Closest I could think would be Thomas Holopainen from Nightwish. They have sometimes similar themes, but their approach couldn't be further apart. But I would love to hear them work together one day. I think that would be remarkable.
That, and I'd also throw in Ian Lucassen into that mix as well.
Yes, those three people, they are some of the best lyrics writers of this genre, easily. Yeah. But there's enough mystery in these lyrics for the meaning to remain ambivalent, but still paint plenty of images in your mind. So it's not really preaching, not really a concept album or anything like that. It's just a lot of different ideas and themes.
But it feels like it flows again. There's a lot of it's weird. I'll cut you off for a second, but it's weird how there's a lot of, just as a listener, there's a lot of crossover points between this and Joshua Batten. Different styles of music, but the way it flows, the way it feels, it's kind of the same thing.
No, it's put you into the world of Avantasia. The Joshua Batten album puts you into like a diary, as you said.
Yeah.
So his thoughts, his process. But writing a song for me would be hard, but to write a whole album that connects and has a running flow without repeating yourself, that's a remarkable skill. Now the song Wicked Rule the Night, that just paints some amazing imagery with the lyrics. And the Inmost Light, that should please any old school Halloween fans. Kiske sounds amazing. And Kiske always sounds great with Tobias Summit. You know, he's got a voice. Tobias has a voice that he picks the right people to work with. Yeah. Because he does have, he's got a tone that's similar to Bruce Dickinson. So as much as I'd like to hear Dickinson work with him, it might be too similar. Yeah. So he's picked people that complement and bring out the best of each other. Yeah. And of course, kind of mentioned Misplaced Among the Angels. That is an amazing song. Floor Jensen, fucking amazing. And the guitar solo on that is brilliant.
Agree.
Jorn. Anyone who saw him at that performance with Avantasia, just the guy is an absolute beast, and I swear he would not need a microphone. He just belts out. In fact, he's holding the microphone that far away. Just such a powerful voice. And you know, it's easy to focus on the vocal performances, but the musicians that make up the core of this band are nothing short of impressive in themselves. You know, you like solos, you like melodies, you like hooks in the chorus, you like heavy riffing, you like subtle melodies. It's all there. On average, these tracks range from about 4 to 5 minutes, which is a bit shorter in general. They do close with the epic track Arabesque, which is quite a mellow and celebratory song. It's almost like Christmas. I get that fun time of Christmas year. So if you could think the whole album is like a year and you get Christmas as a reward, this is the ending grand conclusion. But yeah, this is an excellent album. Certainly be in my top 10s for the year. And I really want Avantasia to come back to Australia because I would love to do those 3.5 hours again. Though after this album, it'll probably be closer to 4 because I can't.
I'll go with you this time. I'll go with you this time.
Yeah, man. Everyone was just stunned. And Tobias is just a great showman. He's really appreciative of what he does. And when they hit the 2-hour mark, he said, you know, some bands have probably packed up and moved on to the next city. Other bands might be doing a short encore. We're going to do another 15-minute song. They played for another hour after that anyway. So you definitely get your money's worth. But yeah, 9 out of 10. Welcome to Shadows, The Wicked Rule at Night, The Innermost Light, Misplaced Among the Angels, Moonflower Society, which has an amazing video clip as well, and Arabesque. Excellent album.
Wow. Well, we are 2 for 2. I'm going to agree with you, Dave. This project is always fucking huge. It's got such a grand scale, but it's done so well. To have this cast, to have it work out the way it does, it's really impressive just to even get it done, let alone have a product that's as good as this. Like I said before, it's remarkable how feel good this music is. It's just enjoyable to listen to. It puts you in a good mood. The huge choir element that's involved in this sort of stuff probably has a lot to do with that. It brings a large atmosphere to this, and then the note choices are more major than minor kind of thing. So you got a lot of it feels just positive to listen to it. But all that says, there's not to say there's no darkness in here. Dave touched on it. There's plenty here. The note choices overall, when they do change from the major to the minor, it's actually a noticeable shift. So, and not in a way that is disruptive. It's like listening to a score. Like the whole metal opera thing is the apt description for what this is, because it sums it up. It is exactly what it is. If you've ever gone to a theater or a long movie with an epic score, this is what that is, but it's beefed up from that because it's meant to be the focal point, not just the complementary part. So the whole thing here is in the music, and so it's just all of that you love about theater or score work is just up to the nth level, because it's just it has to be, because it's the only thing there is. The no choice is the use of space in this one just adds to the drama. The composition is great. There's some haunting elements in this one, which is just fantastic. And again, brings that darkness and that shade to the light that goes on in this album. And this is another one where the song-to-song transitions, they just flow on this one. I also love how across the whole listen, Tobias is definitely the anchor of this thing. Like you said, it's almost like he's the narrator, or he does the Alice Cooper role where he sort of holds things down and then lets everyone else sort of wander off and take the show around him, kind of a thing. The guest vocals on this work for each and every track. It's fantastic. And they all come in, do their own thing, but still fit this project perfectly. A lot of that has to do with Tobias, but it all works. And it's important that they've all come in to show off, but also to be part of the project at the same time. But I liked how distinctive each vocal performance is too. You can tell exactly who is coming in when, and that's actually harder than you think to successfully do in a project like this, to get everyone to be unique enough to stand out that you know exactly who's coming in on the first listen. As long as you know the guest list, you know who's singing if you're following this kind of music for a long time. So yeah, it's just fantastically put together in that regard to have it so distinctive, but at the same time it all fits. Like you, Dave, I'm going to give credit to the instrumentation side of this as well. There are some blistering drums. Some of the guitar work is absolutely phenomenal as well. Well done all around. Between the bass, the drums, the composition, the keys, the choir stuff, it all is meant to make the vocalists shine, but they do shine in their own right, and the vocalists wouldn't have the platform without them, and it's a very symbiotic thing, and it's just really well rounded. They've nailed every aspect of the composition and performance across this one too. Now, Dave, you may or may not agree with me, but I think that Floor Jansen's vocal on this is different to her style in Nightwish.
Yes. Yeah.
And
she can do a lot of different things. She's done TV shows and solo performances and other collaborations, but she's got her Nightwish style, and then she's got a lot of other things that she can do.
I really enjoyed this style from her. I don't hear much of it personally. I don't follow as closely as you do, but I really enjoyed her presence on this release, on the songs that she was on, and how well she worked in with Tobias as well. That was a really good pairing. They sound great together, those two. Just what she brought was a subtle kind of a touch of things. It wasn't a huge departure, but it was just there was a different tone to her voice, and I just enjoyed the way it blended in on this one. And like I said before, this project overall has a knack for bringing out the absolute best in everyone. I love the harmonies in this one too, and the harmonies is just one of those things that just sells, just puts it over the top. The mix is fantastic. Expect no less. It's quite complex. There's a lot of moving parts in this one, but it's all really well balanced, really well laid. Great tones across this one again, especially in the guitar stuff. There's light and shade and warmth and the whole thing. You can hear absolutely everything, absolutely every note, and that's really important. It's impressive. I love how we're getting into an era again where we're getting headroom into the mixes and getting away from that loudness. Well, further and further away as the years go on. No, it's not really a big thing anymore, but I'm still scarred from that time. So anytime I get headroom in an album, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is fantastic. For a production nut, this is great. But there's no tricks on this one. It's just impeccably well executed. One of those ones where doing the basics really well just does the job. Like that is the songs do enough. You don't need to add more to it than that. Just capture it, mix it, do it well, do the basics right, and it just sounds phenomenal because the songs are good enough. On that note, the performances, the composition are fantastic on this one. Great lyrics, the storytelling is fantastic. It's all right here. If you like your stuff on the more dramatic side of things, this is definitely for you. Like I said before, the metal opera is the perfect way to describe this project. Great emotive weight across the board on this one. The hooks are fantastic too. Some of these songs just really do get stuck in your head really quickly. And the flow on the album is brilliant. They've done everything. The temptation with this kind of music is to do too much, and they've avoided that. And I love when they don't do too much. Having that, knowing when to stop is harder than you think, and they pulled it off in this one here. Light and shade, beauty and punch in this one. Everything is so done across the board. This flows well. I don't know if it's something that's absolutely for everyone because it is very grand. I don't know if it'll appease your Slayer fan, for example, but there's plenty here to like for pretty much 90% of the population as far as I'm concerned. I think the only real letdown for me was the track Paper Plane. It's a good song on its own right, but it's a victim of the success of the rest of the album, if that makes sense. It just didn't feel like it lived up quite. On any other album, it'd be fantastic. Do you know what I mean? But just because it's a victim of the circumstances that it finds itself in, that song. It's a good song. Everything works. But it just felt like a bit of a flat spot on the album overall. Not a bad song, like I said, it's just in the company it's with. Also, Jeff Tate, his performance was great. We've had some sort of scary moments with Jeff Tate over the years. Some of his projects haven't been as what you would like, standard-wise from performances, but we're getting more and more of what we want to hear from Jeff Tate over the last few years. In particular, his last little EP last year or the year before was fantastic. His vocal on this, brilliant again. So he's definitely still got his chops. And again, Tobias making everyone bring their A game. He does it Jeff Tate as well, which is fantastic. I just love it. The closing 10-minute epic arabesque is really the perfect way to wrap this thing up as well. I like your Christmas analogy there, Dave. I didn't think of that, but that's a good way to put it. That whole thing, like bringing the pipes, it shows you that they've circled and closed the whole album nicely with that one song, but also are still bringing in new elements from beginning to end. So, the pipe, it's the first time you hear pipes in this album is the last track. And it's the longest track on the album. And so they're still, like I said, it mixes everything I've done so far on the record, but also brings new things. It's a perfect way to wrap it up. It was a really good closing song to the album. Just puts a nice little bow on top of the whole listen. This is another one that's damn well done. Dave, where does this album rank for you? Because for me, I'd put this up there with Ghost Lights for me. Where does this rank for you?
It'd be up there with Scarecrow and Wicked Symphony. But the last album, I can't remember the name of the last album, but the last album was fantastic. But it's definitely in the top 4, I think.
Yeah, I'd put it up there for sure. Anyway, probably I love Ghost Lights. It's probably my favorite one so far. But this one's not far behind. Though Scarecrow's pretty special as well. But I gave this one a 9.5 out of 10. The Inmost Light, the Moonflower Society, and Misplaced Among the Angels. Floor smoked that one. I loved that track. That was fantastic. So that was my score and highlights on that one. Alrighty. Changing pace big time, actually. We're going to move over to Skid Row. So that's a Skid Row with the gangs all here. 10 tracks, 41 minutes. The sixth studio album of the American band, released October 2022 by Ear Music. Produced by Nick Raskulinec. 3 singles have been released from this, including the title track and Tear It Down. This is the band's first release with Eric Grunwald, formerly of Heat, on lead vocals. This album has come after a really rough time for the band. They promised an album that never arrived. They had the death of former vocalist Johnny Solinger. They had the departure of Dragon Force vocalist ZB Theat. The lead single was also the title track of this one. Came out to an overwhelmingly positive reaction, though. It was like Eric was in the band and it all made sense all of a sudden. So let's see if this holds true for the album. And as this is my pick for the week, I'll go first and then Dave can rebut or agree. Let's see if we go 3 from 3. Right from the opening note on this one, you get the feeling this is both what the band and the fans have been waiting for quite some time. It's not Sebastian Bach, so don't get that in your head, but this is probably about as close as you're going to get in real world terms. This is, for fans of the band and for fans of the genre, this is going to give you exactly what you want. I'm not disparaging any of the previous work, because some of the stuff with Johnny in particular was actually pretty bloody good. The run of EPs I did was actually really interesting. But this just feels as close as it's ever going to get. Eric is a great vocalist. I mean, we've loved him in Heat for quite some time now, you and I, Dave, but between him as a vocalist for this is pretty much the perfect fit. If you can't get Baz, this will do. Like, this is pretty fucking special. The new stuff is good on this album, but you can also tell just listening to this that he's going to smoke the classics in the live set, which everyone we know is going to see this show coming up in Melbourne at the end of the year. So it's going to go off. But you just know that Eric is going to knock this out of the park on the new stuff and on the classics too, which is actually really, really gratifying, and if anything, it makes you more thankful that they've actually pulled this one out of the hat, if that makes sense. There's attitude, there's swagger, it's back on this one. There's soaring notes, vocal gymnastics. Eric does steal the show in a lot of respects here, but there's some absolute fire in this album. If you like the lead single, you are going to enjoy this one. If you didn't like the lead single, you're not going to like this album. It's pretty much that. The title track is going to tell you. If you like the album, if you like that, you like the album. If you don't, you're going to want to skip this one. Lyrically, this is absolutely everything you want from the style of music. It's got that attitude, that fun side of things going on. Like I said, not to harp on it, but this just feels like it is going right back to that classic era and just bringing it into today and doing a very good job of it. Great riffs, great solos, as you expect from this style of music from these guys as well. The energy is off the hook from top to bottom on this one. They're not taking any prisoners. They're not here for the big ballads per se. Not that there are softer moments, not many of them, but there are. But this one is just, pedal to the metal from beginning to end for the most part. Tying into that is a really solid rhythm section. I've got to give them a big nod on this one. That these songs are really driven by that across the board. There's some nice grooves, some nice swing and tempo shifts on this one as well. But for all that said, for all the positives I'm laying on this, there are some pitfalls to the nostalgia effect because it'll only carry you so far. Time Bomb for me felt a little lacking in the context of the album. It just felt like none of this is bad, but it's just a case of it just didn't click for me. It's a good song, okay, cool, but it's one that you could just as easily skip, if that makes sense. I hate saying things like that because you always feel like such a prick when you say things like that, but it's just how I feel about it. It just felt like, and there are other songs on here and there. Time Bomb is one, but there are other songs here that just feel like they're leaning a bit too hard into the tropes. Like it is trying too hard to relive the old days. When it's like, you don't have to do that. You can just have the attitude and swagger, and you don't have to try and go back to things. You can just sort of just move forward with time. Not that it's not stuck in the 80s kind of thing. It's not that, but there's just little bits and pieces in there. It's like, it's cool. But it is also, I get the feeling that it's the first time this band with this vocalist, there's always that little feeling out phase on things. I think the next album they do, assuming the lineup stays together, the next album they do will knock this one out of the park. Mix-wise, though, this is fantastic. Perfect for the style of music. Leaps out of the speakers. Great balance. Great panning on this one. I love how, like I said before going back to that headroom era again, but there's also some nice vocal layering in this one too, especially with little call and response moments. There's a lot of little bits and pieces vocally that are really well done, and Eric shines in that one as well. And the songs have really leaned into that. And the gang vocals really do aid that as well. And the way the push and pull the gang vocals across the album is done is really nice. Some are really up there and punchy. Some are back a bit to sort of, give you some dynamic shifts across the songs, which is a nice touch on this one too. October Song is the quote-unquote obligatory ballad on the album. It's well done, placed right before the end of the album as well, so it's a good spot for it. It's another side it shows you there's more to come from this band. They're giving you that. This is the one. It's almost like they're painting within the lines so they can get the feel for each other, and you know that the next one, like I said before, that's when they're going to start to explore it more, and they're showing what they're feeling out with this with songs like October Song. But I reckon the next time they go, they'll swing for the fences and they'll probably fucking smoke it. It's just the feeling I have on it. I don't want to be proven wrong, so please don't prove me wrong. But I think that it feels like this is good. But it's a good beginning, if that makes sense. It's not the finished product just yet. Doesn't quite take enough risks for mine, if that makes sense. It just feels very safe. Fans of the band, this should be a welcome return. If you're more into the genre overall, this is going to feel good. It gives you exactly what you want. But at the same time, at this point in time with this year, what we listen to, I don't see how it can be a top 10 contender kind of a record. It's not one of those for me. It's at the top of the pack, but it doesn't separate from the pack, if that makes sense. It's up there. It's well done. It's all those things. It's good. It just doesn't do anything to really leap out. There are some great songs that leap out, but as an overall album, I'm not sold on the overall album being a masterpiece. It's very, very good, very, very solid, though. So it's well worth your time. If you like this band or solid hard rock at all, you're going to find more than enough to get your interest and keep you locked in for the 45-odd minutes of duration. This is like a big welcome home for Skid Row, but I do look forward to the next one, if that makes sense. It's whet my appetite. I want more, and I want to hear them launch. This feels like the platform's been laid. Now go. That's what this feels like to me. Seeing them live, though, the tour coming here, I reckon that's going to go off because the strength of these songs, like I said before, the vocals, seeing this live, I have full faith this is going to go off. So if you're going to the gig, enjoy. But for this album, I gave an 8 out of 10. The Gang's All Here, When the Lights Come On, and World on Fire were my standouts in this one. So, Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very similar, except I have Time Bomb as a standout.
I knew that had happened.
Yeah. It's strange because before I get to the review, I remember when The Gang's All Here came out, and I remember, this is cool, I like it, but these days I get more excited by a new song by Hardcore Superstar or Eclipse or Heat.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel kind of bad because Skid Row is one of my early favorite bands, and I always will go back to Skid Row and Slaves of the Grind. But there's a lot more competition for bands to grab my interest these days. And everything you said is 100%. This is good. This is really good in some parts. No, but this does come with a lot of baggage. Now, obviously, a lot of us fans have been hoping for decades of a reunion with Sebastian Bach. Not going to happen.
Never.
And this band has had a revolving door of singers that no one's cared about. This time they do have a fantastic singer that we certainly care about. Mm-hmm. I'm still a bit sad he's not in Heat, but Heat are doing fine. They have a great singer in themselves. So,
and that album's good. Here's a question without notice. Is the Heat album better than this one?
Yes.
I would argue that it probably
I reckon it is.
Yeah, it's not to be disrespectful of this one. I just thought that Heat felt more secure, if that makes sense, than this one.
Yeah, it felt like a band. And I will jump ahead to the end of this, but I was looking through the songwriting credits on Spotify. I don't know how Spotify can sometimes be inaccurate, but most of the songs are written by Bolan and Sabo.
Yeah,
3 of these songs have a writing credit to their previous singer, CP Fred. And Cromwell has not written a single thing that he's been credited for on any of these songs. So, as you said, it's definitely a good starting point. If they gel, if they click, and they start writing songs together, the next album is probably going to be fantastic.
I think the chemistry is there for it. It just didn't have time to find itself here. Yeah.
I think they had a good album written, and then things went to shit.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best thing that could happen to them. So, but once they get a tour and they get that camaraderie of touring and performing together, but part of me just wants to shut the fuck up and enjoy this album for what it is. But there's always going to be those things in the back of my head. Because there are times where this doesn't sound like the Skid Row I know, and there's other times that they do sound remarkably like what I know about Skid Row, and then that thought comes in, I wonder what this would sound like with Sebastian Bach on vocals.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
No, I got that with October Song, especially October Song. I'm just like, fuck. Yeah. I could almost hear Bach. Yeah.
I reckon When the Lights Come On maybe would be one that I'd be curious about that. That'd be one because the vocal notes would, okay.
Yeah. See, that's why I get an inconsistency because sometimes it doesn't sound like the Skid Row I know. Sometimes it sounds exactly like it.
I think this sounds more like the Skid Row we know and love than the last few releases does, though.
Yeah, definitely. But, for any rock band, whether they've still got the same lineup, releasing a solid rock album this far into your career, it's not easy. Some can do it really well. Motley Crue did it great with the Saints of Los Angeles. They had a cool theme of reflection. Metal bands can do it right into their fucking 80s. I reckon we're going to see, because their song topics are war, religion, politics, philosophy, corruption. Rock and roll lyrics are about girls, cars, money, partying, and hard living. When you're in the 60s, it's hard to be believable.
It's hard to say,
with a younger front man, he can pull these lyrics off. And at the same time, it doesn't come across as Eric Gromwell and the geriatrics. Okay, he's brought some new life into these older guys. Let's be honest, they're not young.
I love that. That's going to be a quote.
Eric Gromwell and the geriatrics. Like I said, there's a lot of baggage and distraction, so they had a lot to prove with this release. And
hang on, just for the record, there's no one to blame for that baggage except for the band themselves.
Exactly. I don't want to say they ruin their image, but
having a revolving door vocalist is never a good thing for any band.
No, I mean, where's the problem? There's a problem somewhere, and if it's the revolving door, but I don't know.
That's getting into the weeds.
It did take a while to fully warm up to this. I liked it on the first listen, but the more I listen to it, the more I find things to enjoy. It's filled with the energy, the hooks, the riffs, the solos. They're certainly not dead yet, and I would like to hear more from this lineup. But, some of these songs, I mean, Time Bomb is cool. I like that song.
It's funny how we disagreed on that one, but okay.
Yeah.
That's the fun
I get 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
It's still a good album. The Gangs All Here, Time Bomb, Tear It Down, and October Song. But, I'm going to go back to Slave to the Grind. That's what I want from Skid Row. And in a different world, grunge didn't happen, and it didn't have to do Subhuman Race, which isn't a bad album, but time could have been different.
Yeah. Anyway, those things happen, but I'm glad we both agree that get this album done, get the tour done, get in and write straight away. I want to hear them. I don't want to wait 6 years on to get it done now. Strike while it's hot, because if they do that, they'll win. If they wait 3 years, it's gonna fuck up. It just feels like that to me. But hey, that's just me.
Keep the momentum going. We've got it. We've grabbed everyone's attention. We need a 1-2 punch.
The Gangs All Here has done that for them in such a big way. They've always been relatively solid, but this one got a lot of attention. This is like a renaissance moment. You don't know how long it'll last. Don't fuck around with it. If that makes sense. Just put your best foot forward. Don't just churn out anything for the sake of churning it out, but get in and work hard. And I reckon the chemistry, the talent is there. Yeah. It's a good album. It's a solid album. You scored it higher than me, which I'm surprised at. But it's a good, solid album, but it's the platform now. That's how I feel. It's the platform. This is the launching pad. Next album, go off. I reckon they can do it. I believe in that. I do genuinely believe that. That's why I'm actually kind of scared of saying it, because I don't want to be fucking proven wrong in a few years. It's like, fuck, the band did it again.
What happened? Why?
No. And that's the thing too, and that's the baggage. Does that make sense? Because you just know they've got something good. Because the Johnny Solinger stuff was getting better with each release. It was getting good. And then it fucked up. And now it's like, don't fuck this one up, please. Especially because I like Eric. He's a really good guy. He's a fantastic person. Don't fuck this up, please. Fingers crossed. And I think that's half of the problem. It's like you got that. You want to love something, but you're once bitten, twice shy. That's
That's
going
to be cautious.
Yeah, there might be a bit of that element to it as well. We'll see how we go. But it's cool. It's interesting how we're both sort of agreeing, but also having little disagreements along the way, which is always nice. Let's see how we go with our last review for the night. This is The Warning with Error. 14 tracks for 49 minutes. The third studio album from the Mexican band, released June 2022 via Lava and Republic Records. Produced by David Bendeth. Quite a few of these tracks were released on a previous EP as well. This was spearheaded, though, by the new single Money, which we've had a lot of love for here on the show. We've had one person in particular, which we're going to get to in our TV filming after this, doing requests for this band over a while. So we've had a lot of love for these guys in the audience side of things. So it's finally good, from my point of view, to sit down with an album and really take this stuff in. But let's see how it went. And Dave, this was the supplementary record that you put forward. So You go first.
Yeah. Oh man, this band and this album is amazing. You know, as you mentioned, we reviewed the single earlier this year, Money, and I've been listening to that a lot ever since, mainly because my daughter and my son have both put it on their Spotify playlist.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So they like that song, especially Jade. She thinks it's really cool. So It's cool that there's a young girl band that she can get interested in. So
these are, like, no disrespect, we're old. They're kids, these three girls.
Yeah, they're really young and fuck, they're good. But I didn't get a chance to listen to the album until like 2 weeks ago. That's why I suggested we listen to it. But my daughter wanted to listen to it, so I'm like, okay, we'll put it on. And Money is a great indicator of what this band's about, but they can do so much more. It's a great listen from start to finish. There's a lot of bands, especially younger bands, that claim to be rock, but they don't really have that rock punch or that rock spirit. This is the real deal. And I hate using that term because it's so old
cliche.
School rocker. It's a cliche, but it is absolutely the real deal. The band rocks. They're loaded with energy and great hooks. The drummer just hammers away at the skins, and she also has a lot of groove. You know, sometimes you can't do both. A lot of people can't do both, but she nails it. And songwriting, performances, guitar, bass, vocals, they write really, really good songs. Lyrics are done really well. This is witty, it's clever, and it's thoughtful. There's some really, really excellent vocals. And the gang vocals, the backups, they're done at exactly the right moments to just make the hooks pop. There's some nice changes of pace throughout the album. Certainly not a one-trick pony. It's a very nice, diverse listen. Amor is a slower track with some heavier moments and then some softer moments. And if you want diversity in a song, Light and Shade, that's a cool one. I reckon this band has a massive future. And 3 albums in, I don't listen to the first 2, but based on this album, this is absolutely amazing. There's a song, title track called Error.
Error,
I think it's that's the one with the ones and the zeros in the chorus. I actually took that from the lyric sheet and I chucked it into the Google machine to find out if it actually means anything.
Oh wow!
It means free. It means free. It's in freedom. So all those ones and zeros, it's actually a code. So I think that's pretty clever too. But
okay, cool.
So it's not just a bunch of random numbers that sound cool in a melody. There's actually a code behind there.
Point.
But that's just a little indication of how witty and clever this songwriting is.
Well, just to jump in, because my first note on my review is that I've got to give credit to how clever they are, because they had the Error 404 like playing on that Windows fuck up on thing, because the first track is Intro 404. The album's called Error, and everyone knows that Error 404 thing not found, whatever it is from. I use Mac, but it's everyone fucking knows that. So just how they've played into the coding side of the world. I picked up on that. You picked up on this.
Yeah,
that's cool.
As you mentioned, they're young. They're kids. They're a lot younger than us. But damn, they are wise beyond their years. They're very observant, very clever, very witty. Song themes cover a lot of different subjects in a very interesting way that doesn't leave you feeling bad, but it gets you thinking. So I gave it 9 out of 10. Disciple, Money, Amor, Evolve, and 23 are my standouts. Excellent album. If you're after a new favorite band, check them out.
We did a Power Trio special on TV a little while back. This makes me want to go back and do that one again, if that makes sense, because this is an awesome Power Trio, all sisters. I know that sounds gimmicky to mention, but what I love about it is the chemistry is there, and it shows in these songs. This is loaded with. I put my first note down before, like the credit to the Error 404 thing, but having the ones and zeros reference there, I didn't even think to look that up. I'm glad you did. That's really cool. So this is why you get both of us doing different things at different times, both focus on different things. We might agree a lot, but we might pick up on different things. Look, this is loaded with riffs and melodies. The three young ladies aren't shy of something to say either. Lyrically, I'm glad that we both picked up on that because that was just stunningly well done. There's some nice bites, some real good attitude, but also some heartfelt moments in here too. Mm-hmm. The track Revenant, that's a pretty bittersweet kind of track. There's some real sort of heartfelt stuff in this one. But around all that, you got some fantastic hooks in this. I love the writing in both the music and the lyrics of this one. Along with the vocal performance between the lead and the harmonizing vocals is just stunning on this one. The way they've put the emotion into these songs and they convey it to the listener is just really well done. Choke, for me, was a great example of putting the emotional weight into a song. I thought, if anyone out there, it's a very niche comment I'm going to make right now. This is right in the weeds, but talking about Melbourne band Virtue, the three-piece band that had Ellie as the vocalist. If anyone liked that band, check out Choke. You're going to enjoy that song. There's great energy across this one. Along with that bite, there's some darkness in these songs too. Not oppressive. It's just there's a bit of a somber feel at times, a bit of darkness to it. But it's all presented in this really infectious and energetic way. It's a really, really mature record. I think the oldest one is like 22 years old or something like that at the moment, which is or maybe 20. I think that's turned 23. Fucking remarkable. How mature this is just stunning for me. I don't like mentioning the age, but I think it's important to take it in context because this doesn't feel like they're young at all. This feels like seasoned veterans knocking out of the park. I think they're touring with Hailstorm or something at the moment, and they're doing a bunch of stuff in that regard. And you can see why, because they're just so good at what they do. They are already really good. It's like you said, they could be, I've got a note here, they could be anything in the future. They could be absolutely anything. They could be as big as it gets. Not yet, because I haven't got the profile, but everyone loves Hailstorm. These guys could be right up there and probably pushing Hailstorm hard on the next release, if not with this one, to be honest. It's a really mature record, which is just stunningly good. When you take into account their age, it's like extra credit for that. Not that it needs it, but it's just, credit where due for what it is. There's great diversity on display with this one as well. All three of the girls get to shine in this one too at different times in the songs. It's just clicked. And what I love about it is the chemistry, like I said before at the top. That's why I mentioned the sisters thing. It's the chemistry is there. These guys have a multi-album deal, which I'm grateful for. It's given them security, which is fantastic, which means they're going to take some risks, hopefully. And they have on this release as well. Like where I said before, the Skid Row one didn't take a lot of risks. This one did. And I love that about it. It made it really interesting. Not out of the box stuff. It all makes sense. It all ties together. But they didn't just play it safe. And I thought that was really, really good, which, again, gives me more hope that these guys can be anything in the future because the last three tracks in this album, very different. And it shows you just how much more depth they've got to their style when they want to play with it a bit. That said, you get to the rockin' tracks like Money and just the balls out stuff. They've got that in spades. They can do absolutely anything, these three. The track order is great on this one. The gear change is just right. They keep this thing moving. It flies by to listen to. The little moments of Spanish on this one, just a few bits here and there, really do add that little bit of extra spice to this one too. And it's even more remarkable is that you don't know if English is first or second language, but they're bilingual and it's hard to do that well kind of thing. And a lot of bands just sometimes struggle. These girls have smoked it. I love the mix. There's great tones. There's a lot of the guitar and the bass bite in the tone, but also just the pounding and the drums. Like there's just good, warm tones. And it's funny. We always seem to say three pieces have such a big sound. They just do. I don't know what it is. But what I love about what these girls have done is that they haven't been afraid of space. And I think that for me personally, the best three-piece bands use space well. I hold Ragdoll up as a huge example of that. There's other ones too. But three-piece bands that aren't afraid to use space to leave things ringing out and just leave that vacuum there, to me, that takes courage because there's nowhere to hide, especially live when you're doing these songs. And I love the confidence they've got to go and do that. And they nailed it. They smoked it. Yeah, the title track on this one, Era, could have belonged on any Hailstorm record you can think of as well. Like, these girls are just that good already. But then you got softer moments like 23 on this one. That shows it's a softer song, but it shows you just how strong the vocals are, because to pull off those sorts of songs actually takes more strength in the vocal than just belting it out. the control, all that sort of stuff is more important on a softer, slower track. It's harder to get away with it, kind of thing. So again, they're taking those risks and they're showing you we're up for it, and I love it already. That's why I say the multi-album deal is great, because it gives us security, gives them security, obviously, but it just means that, you know, they're going to take some chances, and I love that it gives them a chance to grow and spread their wings. There's a little bit of Foley in Kool-Aid Kids, which was a subtle but nice addition to this one too. So again, they're thinking things through, not overusing the studio. It's just a little thing here and there. But, you know, it was just a little percussive element. It was just a really nice touch on that song. If anything, it was a complimentary accent. It shows you just how good the songs are. But you can add these little bits and pieces, which again shows you there's much more strings to the bow. The way they closed this album, like I said before, the last 3 tracks, especially the bonus track at the end, was a really nice little touch. You've got the actual closing track is all in Spanish, so that's Martirio, I think it's pronounced. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. So that was a really softer one. But then the one before Revenant, like I said before, I touched that before, it's like a really much a pure ballad, and the bonus track Breathe is like a piano vocal song. So they really did, you know, play with it and shake things up toward the end, which is a nice touch in this one too. Just sort of was a nice way to sort of round things out and show, hey, there's more to come, and it sets the palette, or the plate, I should say, or the table for the next album. I am the table. But they've set things up really nicely for what they can do next from this. Is like, again, when in terms of launching pads, this is pretty fucking good. Like, this is a really good record, and what they do next is probably going to be even better. You just have a lot of confidence in what they're doing. So this is a good, solid listen. Nothing earth-shatteringly new kind of thing, but it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be done well, and these guys have knocked it out of the park. I think this is pretty much any and all of our audience should find something in this one to enjoy. If you like this thing called The Hard Rock Show, listen to this album. I'm pretty sure you'll be pretty happy with this one very, very quickly. I gave it 8.5 out of 10. I picked Choke, Money, and Evolve as my standouts on this one. Alrighty. We saved the bin for the live streams and the TV side of things. So now we're going to get into some audience questions. We've got one that's fun to start with. So Rowan, one of our good friends, Rowan, has put as a. So this is the part where we tell you, if you've got questions, if you're paying attention, if you're tuning into this broadcast, you made it all the way to the end. As a thank you for sticking with us for the hour plus we tend to waffle on for, and putting up with our bullshit. We get to say, okay, put some questions in the comments, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. We can't promise to get to them all or anything like that, but we'll do what we can where we can to just sort of try and take things on notice. So Rowan took a bit of the piss out of this one with this on our first edition of Deep Cuts, which I love. Go for it. I think it's fantastic. So from Rowan, the question was, if you think of this as a variety hour, which is, if you go back to the previous Deep Cuts, you'll know what that's about. Why is this video 70 plus minutes long? So the answer to that, Rowan, is because I will talk underwater with marbles in my mouth. There you go. That's why it's 70 plus minutes long. Have you got a different response, Dave?
Yeah, we can't tell the fucking time.
We live in this world where it's all self-contained, so all the editing is done in-house, everything's done in-house, so we can do whatever we want. No one else is telling us, hey, wrap it up now, because guess what? I'm producing this shit, so I can go, okay, we can be here for hours if we want to. We try to wrap it up around the hour and a half mark, just so not too long to listen to or watch. But no, we think that we think of the variety hour thing that harkens back more to the quote unquote TV days of things where we do have a schedule on TV. When it comes to this side of things, there's no schedule. So when the leash is off, Dave and I in particular, we tend to sort of run with that. So yeah, there you go. It's the variety hour plus in the online side of things. All right.
Get more bang for your buck with our hour.
Well, that's it. It's free. So there you go. It's even better. All right. So on to the we actually do have one serious question here, it's an interesting one to sort of contemplate, because it's from Discord. I did put in the Discord chat a while ago. We'll be planning to answer more audience questions on this one. I'm going to try and utilize, whether you're watching or listening to this one, please put a question somewhere in a social, or email us at media@thehardrockshow.com. But yeah, send us a question. But this is a more serious one from Discord from a while back, actually. But why do some fans turn on a band when they become successful? Dave, do you have a theory on this at all?
It's a damn good question. It's one I've been asking myself a lot over the last couple of decades, actually. Because I've started seeing it back in the 90s when I was a massive Metallica fan. It was like, oh, they're too popular now. Like, so what? They fucking worked hard for it. I'm proud of them, actually. But then, as an older, wiser, more mature person looking back, I can kind of see maybe some fans feel betrayed because a lot of us use music as a lot of different things. So your band can be something that's just for you, and all of a sudden, all these other people that you don't like and don't like you, suddenly they become fans of this band that was just yours. I guess you could feel betrayed, and maybe you don't not like the band anymore, but you don't like the fans or the other people that give you shit. You don't like them liking your band. So I can kind of understand that.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I can see, a lot of people are dealt a shitty hand in life. So they find like a working class band that's also been dealt a shitty hand, and they identify with that. They go see this band for $5 and then that band improves their their situation. They become rich, they become famous, they become well known, where you're still as you are.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of has some resentment from that. You're no longer one of us. I can't identify with you anymore. But
good point.
For me, I'm just like, well, no, I'm not going to become rich and famous. That's cool. If there's a band that I've loved for a long time and suddenly they're a lot more successful, they're more able to release more music, I find that cool because that gives me more albums. That gives me more music. I'm happy with that. Then there's probably another reason where if you're an aspiring musician and you're a better musician,
or you feel you are,
or you feel that you are, then some of the free chord songs that become popular, I can understand why people would be a bit resentful in that regard. But ultimately, it comes back to the whole: you can be the best musician in the world if you don't write a song that resonates with a large amount of people. You're not going to get there. But yeah, it's an interesting question. There's a lot of different things. It could be just being someone's a dickhead and just think, well, fuck that band. I don't like them anymore because everybody else does. Yeah. I know. It's just people tend these days in general to like to see things fail.
It's getting more.
Yeah. But I wish I knew why. I mean, everyone's got a different view, so I'm sure there's different reasons. They're just a few that I've thought of over the years. But yeah, I know there's bands that are cool to hate, and you go through comments on different social media.
But outlets. Bands to begin with, if that makes sense. So yeah,
so it's like, well, fuck, no, you never. When Nickelback released "How You Remind Me," they were quite popular. They were on the way up, and all of a sudden, this massive hate turned against them. And I still don't know where that came from because they're not the greatest band, but they're not the worst. Jesus.
Yeah.
Same with
moment.
Five Finger Death Punch, they're another one, and I've waffled on for a bit. What do you think?
Well, the one thing I don't like is the people that like to yuck on someone else's yum. So when it comes to this sort of conversation, if someone else likes a band, seriously, just leave them be. There's no need to pile on in that conversation, especially in this day and age. It's funny because we're talking about, when Metallica did Load and Reload, or even go back to the Black Album, like, oh my God, they fucking sold out. The Black Album in particular for Metallica. But the way that fan bases treat each other, that can be done a lot better overall than what it is currently. But when it comes to this, why a fan would turn on a band, that's actually really hard for me to relate to because music for me has always been an escape. It's always been my way out. It's always been my release. It's always been an emotive, cathartic thing for me. I've never viewed it as something I've possessed or owned. It's just something that helps me to feel better or feel something, if that makes sense, depending on, life was what it was in earlier days. So music for me was a great thing that helped me through so much. So I can't really relate to the question on a personal level because I've never hated an artist. I find it really hard to do that. I can dislike particular songs, even albums, or dislike a change they made, but I'll always go back to what I liked about the artist or the band anyway. To turn on them, I think it is to do with, again, hard. I'm going to project a bit here, but I think it's more to do with something that stuck with me is I think it was Jason Newsted, actually, of all people in this conversation, talking about this sort of stuff, where he said, that people get angry because suddenly the band that you loved and you're a part of by being in the sweaty pub gigs is no longer just in your back pocket. It's no longer this little cool secret that you had tucked away that you could show your friends and wow them with. And that's where it becomes a bit resentful, because now everyone knows about it and you're not first anymore. You're not the gatekeeper, if that makes sense. And I think, broadly speaking, I think it's more to do with individual insecurities than what the band has done. So how people define themselves in their life and their world and all that kind of stuff, and what they anchor to, is where this sort of comes from. How they turn on a band, and to me, I could be very wrong. Probably going to get a lot of hate for this comment, but I think it speaks more to that individual's insecurity than it does to anything the band has done. Now, in the context of artists that order hitmen to kill their wife, I can get that one. Or if they suddenly start throwing racist slurs around, I can get that one. I understand those things, but just for a band becoming successful, I think it's more to do with that you're not a part of the clique anymore, which I think you summed up nicely before, Dave. I think that's pretty much what it boils down to. There's this clique. When there's this little known band that you can sort of become a shepherd for and go, okay, here, I can show this many people, especially in today's age with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everything else, TikTok and whatever, to have everyone's got that megaphone. And so you can sit there and go, I found this band. How fucking cool is this? And then suddenly, which it's ironic because the goal is to get everyone to know about the band so the band becomes successful and does more music for you, right? But then when it gets out of your grasp, you get angry because it's no longer your thing. So I think that's what it boils down to. I think it's the loss of the clique, that disenfranchisement, not because the band has done something wrong, but because the band is suddenly... Everyone knows, like you said, you have to now equate this band to things you don't like in life. So everyone likes it, which means if you're part of the nerdy or whatever group, which we all were growing up, most rock and metal heads were pretty much geeks in the early days. A lot of us were, anyway, not everyone, but a lot of us were. I know I was. The whole Lemmy, I was the editor of School Magazine kind of moment here. But the
I played Dungeons and Dragons
too. Yeah, it's like, but the I mean, even in Stranger Things, the Hellfire Club, like everyone's glorifying Eddie, and he was a geek. Like it's cool now, but it wasn't back then. And so and that's where the thing is that when you're the outcast, finding that thing that makes you connected to something is great. When everyone gets in on your ride, it takes away the charm for the individual, which again speaks more to the individual, and that's an unfortunate byproduct of the whole thing. But that's a long way of saying. It just sucks. It's a shitty change of circumstance. People want to feel like they belong to something. That's how we all work, mentally speaking. I believe we want to be part of a pack, a tribe, a group. And when that suddenly gets a bit too big, we kind of feel a bit pushed out and a bit resentful of that. Because especially if it's a band you see face to face, suddenly where you might be able to shake the hand or buy them a beer, or they'll buy you a beer, or you'll share a drink after the show. When they get to an arena event, that'll never happen again. So I think that there's a mourning association. And mourning, one of the stages of mourning is anger. I think that's where it sort of, lashes out at the band they love. But hey, it's a long way of waffling through a quasi-psychological evaluation of people. I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. Have a few drinks and get us talking, and that's about the end of it. But I just think it's an interesting conversation to have. But yeah, anyway, that's what we think of it. Let us know your thoughts. Why do you think fans turn on a band once the band becomes successful? Let us know if you think we're right, if we're completely off the base, whatever you think. That's cool. And if you're paying attention, put some questions in the comments, I should say, and we'll see what we can do for next time around. But get them done quickly because we're going to film the next one next week. So get them in there. But that's about it for now. Unless there's anything else you want to add there, Dave, or we're going to wrap it up and move on to TV stuff after this.
Yeah, I think we'll shoot some TV.
All right, cool. Well, speaking of that, make sure you check us out on Channel 44 Adelaide, Thursday nights, 10:30 p.m. Check us out on your TV screen or via the CTV Plus app or at ctvplus.org.au. Also, same thing, Channel 31 on Saturday nights, 10:30 p.m. in Melbourne. Channel 31, that we've been with them for 10 plus years now, so we're doing pretty well over there. So make sure you check us out on TV on Channel 44 in Adelaide, Channel 31 in Melbourne, Thursday nights and Saturday nights respectively, both at 10:30 p.m. local time. We'll do another Deep Cuts. We'll have our live stream on Thursday night as well. Our next live stream is going to be The next round about Battle of the 50-Year-Olds, so Alice Cooper versus Uriah Heep. We're also going to chat about the new Queensryche album. Conrad's going to join us for that. We're also going to go back to a classic from Rammstein as well. So it'll be a bit of a diverse episode along with all the games and the usual stuff. We'll have a song of the week, a news article of the week, and a bunch of other stuff in there as well. So make sure you check us out there. Get involved in the live stream conversation Thursday night before at about 8:30 p.m. local time, Melbourne here in Australia, to check us out there on the live stream side of things. We'll do a WASP deep dive soon. We'll have our top 10s coming up as well and all the Christmas shit coming up as well. So there's heaps going on. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, do that. Details are in the description box. So like I was saying, follow us on your preferred social media platform. Leave us some comments. Leave us your thoughts. If you want to give us a review or just give us a like or a share, sharing us around is greatly appreciated. Getting people to see us or hear us is really helpful. Make sure people can sort of tune into our nonsense each and every week. All helps out, everything you can do. But also the same thing for our fantastic sponsors. Check out their details too. A big thank you, of course, Squid Ink Screen Printing, Old Cold and Rockstar Finance. Just check them out, give them a like or a follow or a share, any of that sort of stuff. It helps them, it helps us, it's all great. And if you want to help us yourself more directly, please do check out our Patreon page for more information on just how to do all of that. There's heaps there, so just go and check it out. But I think that'll do us. I think that'll wrap us up now. We'll go and shoot some TV, and then we'll call it a night and get back into another week of the usual day-to-day. Except for us, we do have the extra 2 days this week, which is nice.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on, Halloween.
Halloween tomorrow as we do this one. We're both excited. I'm sure we'll wax lyrical about Halloween in either the live stream on Thursday or our next deep cuts coming up. So, but for now, that'll do us. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Make sure you give us your thoughts. As always, we do welcome the feedback. But until next time, I'm Andrew.
I'm Dave.
As always,
drink up
and rock on. Speak.